So the deadline has passed for rookie contract extensions for those players drafted in 2020, and while we saw a handful of extensions coming down to the final hours before the 6 p.m. Eastern deadline, including Onyeka Okongwu, Jaden McDaniels, Josh Green, Cole Anthony, the Bulls' Patrick Williams was not among those who reached an agreement on an extension, which will mean Pat will be a restricted free agent come next offseason, and what I will say is I'm a little surprised, but at the same time, I'm not. A few weeks ago, I actually thought the Bulls and Pat would reach an agreement on an extension and likely a pretty team-friendly deal that would secure long-term money for Pat, who still has a lot to prove, and for the Bulls, locking in a young player with a lot of upside on a potential deal that could be a bargain down the line. And from my view, I figured the Bulls would work to get a deal done, even if it meant overpaying Pat. Slightly because this front office, what we know about them more than anything is one, they love continuity, so keeping their guys intact is important to them, but two, they also are a little prideful when it comes to their decisions and doubling down on said decisions. And given this was their first draft pick, a high lottery pick at that, I figured this is a player they plan to keep for the foreseeable future, and if you can extend him now, might as well get it done before he becomes a restricted free agent. But as the days went on, leading up to this deadline, it started to become more and more clear this likely wasn't going to happen. First of all, Pat didn't have an incredible preseason, not a bad preseason. There were elements to his game that have improved, like his aggression and getting to the paint, but his rebounding didn't improve at all. He was still a little timid and deferential at times, passed up on too many threes. I mean, Billy had to pull him out early of a preseason game because he was missing assignments and wasn't attacking the glass. But that said, you heard more and more talk about Pat looking for a big contract extension north of $20 million, which I know some Bulls fans will gasp at that figure, but you have to keep in mind, two-way players, 3-and-D type wings are paid at a premium in this league. And you also have to remember that $20 million is quickly becoming the new $12 million. $20 million over 5 years. By that fourth or fifth year, you're talking about that annual salary being close to the mid-level exception, so bear that in mind. But regardless, north of $20 million for a player that is unproven and hasn't shown a ton of progress year over year since they've been drafted is probably a little unsettling for the front office to want to agree to, even despite Pat only being 22 and having a fair amount of upside. And when you saw guys like Jaden McDaniels and Devin Vassell get north of $130 million over 5 years, not saying that Pat is on their level, but at those rates, it probably meant the Bulls and Patrick Williams weren't going to come to terms, because even though those guys have proven more than Pat has, they're not all-stars or future superstars in the making, and if that's the market value for them, that's a bargaining chip for Pat and his camp to say, yeah, Pat's fair value is probably in the 5-year, $90 to $100 million range. And they wouldn't be unreasonable to think that. And if you're the Bulls, at that rate, you would almost rather wait it out. Have it be a prove-it year for Patrick, and earn that kind of contract, if not more, if he's able to show that he's taken his game to the next level. Now, I know some of you already know this, but I did want to reiterate this because I got a lot of questions about this back when the Bulls and Lauri Markkanen weren't able to come to terms on his rookie extension. It by no means means that the Bulls don't believe in Patrick Williams. It also does not mean that the Bulls are going to lose Patrick Williams next offseason because he'll be a free agent. He's going to be a restricted free agent, meaning he'll have the ability to go out there and get offers, and the Bulls will have the ability to match any offer sheet that he receives. You know, you go back through Bulls history, even the days before Arturas and Mark Eversley, the Bulls usually have preferred holding out and seeing how a player shows up in their fourth season before they lock them up to a long-term deal. Now, that's not to say they don't offer any kind of deal whatsoever. They've always tried to get a player on a team-friendly deal, and if the player prefers to go for the guaranteed money early, then so be it, great. But they did this with Coby White, Lauri Markkanen, Zach Lavine, Jimmy Butler. All of these guys did not get early contract extensions to their rookie scale deals. All of them they ended up retaining, except for Markkanen, who they executed a sign and trade for. So if you asked me now, I still think the Bulls are ultimately going to hold on to Patrick. He will be with the Bulls after this season. What number they sign him to, no idea. It really depends on how he does this season, how much progress he shows, how much he impacts winning, and then also what the overall market is going to be next offseason, because the market is always changing in the NBA. What one day seems like an insanely high contract quickly turns into a bargain deal. But what I will say though, the Bulls are essentially letting the market dictate Pat's value. Teams are going to have the ability to make offers at him next offseason, and the Bulls can match any offer. If teams are offering him $100 million contracts, then hey, that's his market rate and the Bulls match. Right now, his value is a bit subjective because we really don't know what other teams would be willing to pay for him. That will be made clear next summer. And for Patrick, this is the season, man. The extension deadline has passed. You're in a contract year now. You're talking about one of the biggest paydays of your life being up for grabs. This is your time to earn that money. Your time to prove to everyone, the doubters and the believers alike, that you're worth big money, that you're going to take your game to the next level and be the star that this front office was hoping you would be. Time to get that bag. Don't fumble it. Let me know what you guys think of the recent news on Pat setting to hit restricted free agency next summer. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.